Huge Game 1 win by the Timberwolves on the road, stealing one already and taking back home court advantage. This video is going to be done in parts, starting from reviewing just a couple of the post-game press conference questions for Mike Malone. Then I'm going to get into some pros and cons from both teams. And then the final part of this video will be going into some of the more basketball stuff, tactical things, and trying to tackle this stuff as quickly as possible. Let's get right into it.
Start. That's another slow start.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about the start. I mean, it was 18-4. Jamal Murray didn't practice all week, couldn't make a shot. I'm more worried about our second half defense.
I'm actually surprised that he said this, given the fact that they've been really bad in first quarters, starting off games in really sloppy ways, basically losing every first quarter except for that last game against the Lakers. The later you get on in the playoffs, the more difficult it is to get away with starting off poorly. From the Lakers all the way to the last game here against the Timberwolves, they only won 2 of those first quarters, and this last one that they played against the Timberwolves, they found themselves in an 18-4 deficit before climbing back. So these are trendy bad starts, and maybe Malone's downplaying it to not make the team feel pressure, but I do think it is concerning, especially when you're playing against a team like the Timberwolves that loves to take advantage of a team that makes mistakes, because they will turn those mistakes into offense. They also asked Mike Malone what is going to be required to beat the Timberwolves.
What did you learn that it's going to require of your group, I guess, in order to beat this team consistently?
48 minutes. You can't play a half of basketball in the Western Conference semifinals.
His simple answer was 48 minutes, which goes back to the first question that he answered about not worrying about starts. If you want a team to play a solid 48 minutes, that means start to finish. This team cannot afford to get off to bad starts. This is not a Lakers team that's top heavy. This is a team that's very deep, has a lot of energy, plays solid defense, gets good looks because of the actions they run, and they're so well coached that I think the Nuggets are going to have to play their best basketball to get out of this series alive. And Michael Malone mentioned that it's going to be a quick exit if they allow 4 guys to go off. That is true. Cat with 20 points, you have Conley with 14, Naz Reid had 16, and then Ant, of course, with those dominant 43 points. Pros and cons for both teams. Here are some pros for the Timberwolves. They stole a game on the road, of course. They had a bad McDaniels game offensively. He went 0 for 7. It was also not a good Nickeil Alexander-Walker game offensively. He was 1 for 5 from 3, 2 for 6 from the field. They win with Cat in foul trouble. He had 5 fouls. He actually picked one up at the beginning of the game, right at the tip-off. And they still beat the Nuggets, who shot 42% from 3, and the Nuggets shot 20 free throws to Minnesota's 12. Those are the pros that I can see for this win for the Timberwolves. Despite those numbers, they were still able to take this game on the road. A couple of cons for the Timberwolves that I did notice, which were fouls and turnovers. Denver scored 17 points on the turnovers from the Timberwolves. So like the Denver Nuggets sloppy moments, the Timberwolves will have plenty of those, and they have had plenty of those all year long. That's something the Timberwolves are going to have to tighten up on. This is not a team you want to mess with because of the talent on the team, because of the coaching. Everything is just a well-oiled machine with the Nuggets, and so you don't want to give them extra ammunition by turning the ball over. Here's some pros for the Nuggets. It was a bad Jokic game, 44% from the field, 2 for 9 from 3 and 7 turnovers. You get a scoreless first half from Jamal Murray. They were down 18-4 like I mentioned earlier in that first quarter, and they still lost by 7 on a lights out second half by the Timberwolves. And they also got 20 free throws, which lets you know they might be able to get to the line pretty often against these guys. Now, I will say some cons for the Denver Nuggets. They've had trendy bad starts, which I mentioned earlier. Those are very concerning. The rebound issue is one that I'm not sure they're going to be able to get a hold of. 42 rebounds for the Timberwolves in this game, 34 for Denver. Going to keep a close eye on that. Points in the paint, Timberwolves had 30 to Denver's 20. That's going to correlate with the rebounding as well. 42% from 3 for the Nuggets in a loss. Nuggets won't shoot that percentage often, and they've been struggling from 3 since that Lakers series, so that's going to be something I'm also going to be looking at in this series. Now I want to move on to the last part of this video, the quick basketball stuff. The Timberwolves had Karl Anthony Towns on Jokic. This is a clear sacrifice so that Gobert can guard Aaron Gordon, and that way he can roam. this basically creates some double teams when Jokic decides to take Cat inside, because Gobert's basically there, and then you have a lot of clutter in the paint where Jokic is either trying to score on two guys or he's trying to make a difficult pass that Gobert can really get in the way of. So the Timberwolves are swapping Cat and Gobert between those matchups, kind of changing it up here and there, or maybe when they find themselves in transition and they're trying to figure it out quickly. But there is a counter to this for the Denver Nuggets, which I'm surprised that I didn't see enough. And that is running some Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon pick and rolls. We need to see the Nuggets engage Gobert more so that you can pull out the most important rim protector for the Timberwolves. That's going to then cause some help defense to open up opportunities for Denver Nuggets players. If you run pick and rolls with Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., in those plays where Gobert is guarding Aaron Gordon, you're going to get a favorable switch where it's Gobert trying to figure out how to defend Michael Porter Jr., which he did have a good moment against him, but I would like to see more possessions like those, where we get a favorable matchup between an athletic Porter Jr. and Gobert trying to figure it out. We also saw Anthony Edwards on Murray, which looked really good. They alternated with McDaniels throughout the game, which proved to be pretty difficult for the Nuggets to get good looks throughout. For the most part, it's McDaniels just playing full ball denial on Michael Porter Jr., which does help him get rest because he's guarding Michael Porter Jr., who's an off-ball guy in this offense, and then able to use that energy on switches if they do run some pick and rolls in between those guys. And hopefully that transfers to some more energy on offense for Jaden McDaniels. Didn't happen this game, but that's going to be something you want to look at as well. Last point about these Nuggets, though, Aaron Gordon just has to be better defensively. He had the lowest defensive rating in the game, and he just has to be better when he gets the Cat matchup. He can't be a liability on both ends. He's already an offensive liability from a spacing standpoint because of the Gobert roaming game plan, so he does have to make himself more effective, and Aaron Gordon is more than capable of putting together some great defensive games. So I'm really going to be interested to see what happens with that. Lastly, Anthony Edwards was amazing, obviously the best player in the game, yet again, becoming an unstoppable force that the Nuggets are going to have to live with, but they got to do better guarding everyone else. They can't afford to let Anthony Edwards cook the way he does while also allowing the others to get their good opportunities. Game 2 is on Monday. Let's see how the Nuggets respond.